Good afternoon, everybody. I'll request you all to grab the seats that are pending, fill up the aisles. We'll be starting in a few moments. The moment I get a green signal from the forces that prevail. And please make those last pending phone calls, those last moment text messages. Oh, the lady in the crowd says I should be louder. Console, that's not a compliment for us. We should, I'll blabber a little more and then maybe you can give me a thumbs up if it's okay. Am I audible now, ma'am? Little more, little more, little more. कौन बनेगा करोड़पति में आपका स्वागत है आपसे पहला सवाल आपको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है पीछे Okay, how many of you gentlemen can hear the podium right at the back? Okay, we have some hands. Great. We started out. Great, so I have a green signal to begin from the forces that prevail. I'll request everybody to settle down, grab their seats. Console, please calm down if everything is in order. Let's respect the house. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Viraf Patel. For those who don't belong in this country, are not familiar with this name, my name rhymes with giraffe. It's giraffe with a V, so that with our silly introduction out of the way. There is a spirit in this room that needs to be addressed. And we have a lot more gentlemen and dignitaries joining us, so there will be a hustle and bustle, so please bear with me. This MC's job is very hard, you know, you have these power weights walking in and out of the room, but we've got to keep the show going. Right, so I was talking about the spirit that needs to be addressed this afternoon. It's the spirit of enterprise. Each one of you have dealt with daily chores, the Mumbai traffic, the October heat, and made it into this room and made this room what it is right now. So with the same spirit of enterprise, we have our minister joining us. We will take a moment to welcome him with a round of applause. I will request, now that all the dignitaries are here, please join us on the panel. Big round of applause for Shri Sarbananda Sonowal, Honorable Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. I'll request the following speakers to also take dais. Shri T.K. Ramchandran, Secretary, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. Luis Salvador Tenesa, President, Port of Barcelona. It'd be nice if you all raise a round of applause for these brilliant gentlemen. Mr. Rizwan Somar, Chairman, FICCI, Committee of Logistics and CEO and MD, India Subcontinent and Sub-Saharan Africa, DP World. Mr. Subrat Tripathi, Chief Executive Officer, Ports, Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited. Mr. Dhruv Kotak, Chairman, Ports and Shipping, FICCI Committee on Transport Infrastructure and Managing Director, JM Baxi Group. Mr. Knut Arild Haride, Director General Shipping and Navigation, Norwegian Maritime Authority. And Mr. René Pil Pedersen, Chief Group Representative, Public Policy and Regulatory Affairs of AP Moller Maersk Group, Singapore. I'm going to remind you that we are fortunate to have Sri Sanjay Sethi, the Chairman, JNPT of our esteem. He's also our esteemed session convener. And I'd like to also introduce a key pillar in our maritime governance structure, the Secretary in the Ministry of Ports, Shri T.K. Ramchandran. So he'll be joining us shortly. I would like to invite Shri Sanjay Sethi to present a bouquet to the Session Chair, Honorable Shri Sarbananda Sonowal, as a token of our gratitude for his presence. Sanjay Singh.
Yes.
अगर आपकी
Thank
आज्ञा
you.
हो तो it's
Thank
floor
you.
is on.
Thank you.
Big round of applause for the first session of GIMS 2023, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. I think now the pressure is on us, to all the speakers, with a full house here, sir. This is the first session, which we were calling as the plenary session. This is a session on developing ports for the future, an accelerated shift towards smart, safe, and sustainable. So what we have is we have a very, very impressive lineup of speakers here. What we intend doing is that the accelerated shift part basically means that we need to share experiences, thoughts, what we have been able to do and achieve in various parts of the world. We have representation from Europe, from Dubai, from our very own India. I'll just talk about a few examples on what is happening really in the port sector to make this accelerated shift as we are talking about. So in Copenhagen, it seems, Port of Copenhagen, they have achieved carbon neutrality through use of wind turbines, through energy expenditure caps, and zero emission trucks. There's another example of Port of Vancouver, which is utilizing autonomous barges and monitoring shoreside traffic to hugely improve the turnaround time. Similarly, Valencia in Spain is using innovative container management systems and a high degree of coordination between land and sea infrastructure. Closer home, if I may share, JNPA has improved its turnaround time and dwell time, which is 22 hours as turnaround time and 18 hours for the dwell time for imports, which is comparable to the best in the world. So when we are talking about all these achievements, basically what we are saying is that we need to be discussing the tools, the methodologies, the thoughts to achieve this level of efficiency, to talk about sustainability, to talk about innovation, to talk about safety. We have various speakers who are mostly practitioners in this field. We will have them speak in the first round for, sir, about 2 minutes each, so that they can share with us what they have been able to achieve in these various fields, sir. We can start with the efficiency part. We have the representative from the APM terminals. We would request you to share your thoughts on the efficiency, reputation, the kind of tools, the kind of experiences that you have, please.
Thank you very much. Namaste, Sri Sonoval, Honorable Minister, Chairman Sethi, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be back in Mumbai for this GMIS 2023. I come from Maersk. I think a number of names has been mentioned today. I'm the MD of AP Moller Singapore. It's a Maersk company. I'm based in Singapore, where I'm heading up a shipping company with around 140 container vessels flying the Singapore flag. Today I'm representing APM Terminals, which is one of our businesses, who is active all over the world. We have close to 70 ports globally. In India we have two big terminals, GTI in Mumbai and GPPL in Gujarat. We've been in India for many years. Our first vessel actually called India more than 100 years ago. When we look at our terminal business and the way we work with it, for us, it's not necessarily about being the biggest, but we try and we aim to be the best. And we do that by lifting industry standards in a number of areas. We work basically with 3 headlines. The first one is operational excellence. We have adopted the principle of lean, and that means that efficiency, safety, etc., is not only a matter for the management, for the leaders, but for every employee at our terminals. And we work with lean as a way of creating continuously efficiency and improvement in operations. We also work, our second headline is automation. In some places of the world, we are experimenting with more or less autonomous terminals. We have a terminal, Maasvlakte 2 in the Netherlands, that has been more or less fully automated for a number of years. And we try to gain some experiences from that terminal and then bring it to our terminals all over the world, including here in India. The last headline for us is innovation. How do we work with digital? How do we work with data? Can we use AI to create more efficiency? And all of this is, a lot of buzzwords. Even if I represented a different industry, I could almost use the same words. But there's actually some proof in the pudding. In Morocco, in Tangier, we have a quite big terminal where we have fully implemented these principles. And we were actually able to gain efficiencies around 30%. 30% on container moves per hour, bringing down the idle time of the vessels calling our terminals also with 30%, and actually doing more with less. And I think now we are here in India today. One of the challenges for this great nation is that logistics costs are very high. We are talking about 13 to 14% of GDP. I think that's the government's own estimate. Creating efficiency in terminals, in ports, and of course in the rest of the logistics chain, that is a prerequisite to bring down those costs and to make Indian business even more competitive in the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one narrative or one piece that we're discussing is that ports are no longer these static entities, but these dynamic entities where we are discussing end-to-end logistics. And we have with us Mr. Rizwan Sumar from DP World, talking about how they have used the concept to successfully prove that this is a reality which can be achieved. Over to you, Rizwan.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi, Honorable Minister. Thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Sethi, for the opportunity, Honorable Minister. So I will talk about Dubai simply because we call Dubai ports. So one case study that I could actually share with you in terms of how we've created a port ecosystem, right, which actually enables logistics and ports to actually make industry more successful, make the importer, the exporter, the consignor. Would this be better? Thank you. So no, it was not me the last time around. So Dubai ports, we put up the port of Jebel Ali in 1979, and it was really built on a transshipment model, right? And we very, very soon realized that it's going to be very difficult to underwrite this investment with transshipment alone, depending on other countries and taking advantage of the geographical position that Dubai actually has. Our chairman at that time decided to set up Jabza, Jebel Ali Free Zone, as it is called. 8 houses, and that we actually set up in 1985. And since 1985, we're housing almost 9,000 companies in Javza. It's spread over 60 square kilometers. It's responsible for almost 25% of the GDP of Dubai because of the economic activity that actually takes place out there. And the residents of Javza, in terms of the processing units, in terms of the industry that was actually set up, uses the port. And there's almost 22 million TEUs of port capacity that we actually set up. So the port facility, the logistics facility is available to all these industries that have actually set up shop over the last 3 or 4 decades, making Dubai what it is today. And if you look at the port and the Jebel Ali Free Zone ecosystem that we actually put up out there, it is responsible for more than 1/3 of the GDP of Dubai put together. And this actually then, strengthened our resolve to ensure that we do this similarly in other parts of the world, wherever given the opportunity. And we were very lucky that with the Ministry of Shipping and the JNPA port, we actually set up our first free zone in India, in the 5 kilometers from the Nhava Sheva port, on the port land as a long-term concession. It's 2 million square feet of warehousing space that will actually house more than 500 companies, right? And of course, the way it is actually moving, we're very, very confident that we will actually hit capacity very, very soon. And similar models are actually being planned all over India in that sense. So wherever there is a port, put up a ecosystem which actually houses logistics facilities, houses warehouses, to ensure that industry is allowed to be close to the port and avail of the port services per se, right? And I'll give you one more example, Mr. Sethi, if I have just a minute more. If you look at the Dubai port ecosystem that we've actually created, right? Just take food and beverages as one industry, right? Almost, you could say, 85% of what GCC and Dubai actually consumes in terms of food and beverage is imported, right? And through Dubai, we actually reach not just the Dubai residents and the UAE residents, but also the other GCC countries, 1 to 2 days after landing in the port, per se, right? By locating this port ecosystem out here, we actually enable Dubai residents to actually make use of the fact that this import is even possible, and this distribution to the various GCC countries is even possible, reducing lead times by almost 50%. So Dubai is actually touted as the #1 food security, country or locale in the Middle East in that sense. And we're trying to do something similar out here, where we're trying to actually build the food security corridor, where the GCC as well as Dubai source more from India. And this actually gives more opportunities for the Indian producer, the farmer in India, in terms of giving them the visibility of demand 20 years, 30 years hence, ensuring that the quality that they actually produce is not just okay for GCC and Dubai, but also for the rest of the world in that sense. So raise the benchmarks, ensure that the pricing stability is there, ensure that we actually have the quantity that the Indian produce can actually be realized in the global markets per se. And there's a similar a facility that we're trying to create in Javza, which is called as Bharat Bazaar, Honorable Minister. And this is actually supported by our Honorable Commerce Minister, because he feels that this could actually make full use of the CEPA agreement that we recently signed with the UAE. What we do is we basically house Indian companies out there where they can showcase their product to people coming from all over Africa and all over Middle East. And they actually want to touch and feel the goods. So they want these goods to be exhibited in retail outlets, but also have the warehouse associated with the retail outlet, so that when they want to buy a quantity, the warehouse actually makes the inventory possible. So this is another facility that we want to actually set up very, very soon. And if everything goes well in the next 3-4 months, we should actually start that facility in Dubai. Just to give you an example, the UAE-China trade, and China was actually the first to actually put up a China Mart in Dubai. Almost 10% of all Chinese UAE trade is actually going through this particular mart. 50,000 customers coming every day. So this is the potential that we could actually realize, right? If you look at the China-Africa trade, it's $160 billion. If you look at the India-Africa trade, it's 1/3 of it, and we are closer to Africa. So we are actually a gateway for Indian produce in Dubai, to make sure that the African demand is actually met with. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Rizwan. I think moving on to the decarbonization piece, I think we all look at Norway as the leader in this. Our friend from Norway, what I would request is that you should share your experience about the whole decarbonization drive and what could be the learnings for a country like India. We are discussing a lot of green hydrogen, but how far are we really from there, so to say? And what could be the challenges also? So over to you.
Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me start to express my gratitude to the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways for the honor of being part of this panel today. Today I'm Director General of the Norwegian Maritime Authority, but I'm also a former Minister for Transport and a former Minister for Environment and Climate Change. And to be honest with you, it's much the same job to being Minister of Transport and Minister of Climate Change today. Because we know that the world fleet, we have to change. We have to build new ships that must be low and zero emission ships. And of course that So we have to build new ships, and of course that will have a great impact for the ports. What is the experience from Norway? We are a very small country, but we are quite big when it comes to shipping. And we were the first country in the world building an LNG ship in 2000. In 2015, we were the first land that built a ship on battery. And today, 1/3 of the ferries in Norway are zero-emission ferries because they have batteries. In 2016, we built the first ship on methanol. And this year, we launched the first ship on hydrogen, a ferry. And we hope in 2 years that we also will have a ship on ammonia. And that will, of course, bring great impact for the ports. And what are we doing? I think onshore power is really crucial for the ports. And today, Enova, that is an authority in Norway, have used $85 million for 100 onshore power projects in Norway, so that onshore can be used in the ports of Norway. We're not finished, but we have started. And I think that is what we have to do together. We have to change the fleet. That will impact the ports. And of course, we have to use new technology to improve the ports. But the green shift, the climate change, will impact the total industry. And of course, that will impact a lot for the ports. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, with your permission, if I can request you to make a few remarks, sir. Because the Honorable Minister will let the others speak, sir? अच्छा मेरे को लगा आपको थोड़ा right, sir. All right, sir. That's nice, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So moving on to the next speaker, I think we haven't touched the digitization piece yet. I think we have Dhruv Kotak here, who has been associated also with the National Logistics Portal Marine. When we say technology, we are discussing innovation, but technology could be used for greening, technology is used for the efficiency part, technology is being used for everything. So let me request Mr. Dhruv Kotak to share his thoughts on this vertical.
Thank you, sir. I think just one comment before we begin. I think we've got three superstars in one room. The room is falling really short, sir. I think everyone's come to see, Honorable Minister, Secretary Saab and yourself. We need a bigger room, sir, because everyone's here to see you. But how do you know you are not disturbed? Okay. No, but sir, thank you. I think to all our, all the friends visiting from all over the world, I think one fact which is little known in the world is that the biggest port community system in the world has been developed here in India by an entity called Indian Ports Association, IPA, which is actually a subsidiary of the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways. It's the biggest port community system anywhere in the world, and it's what we call literally on a fifth generation platform. In fact, the efficacy of what has been built, and we've had the privilege of being a vendor, and simply because of that, association, affiliation, today we've actually been able to roll out similar platforms, sir, all over MENA, and now all over other parts of South Asia as well. So today, because of what the Indian government has done in terms of scale and scope, very often in the press we hear about a lot of work which has been done in terms of digitization in other areas. But what work has been done by the Indian Ports Association and the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways is actually unparalleled in terms of scale, scope and size. So I think again as Indians, this is something we really have to be proud of. As the Ministry of Shipping, this is something we really need to be proud of. I think taking that step further, maybe one small example which, sir, if you permit, I would like to share with. I think container terminals, port operations, these are not new. They've been present all over the world. But what is new is the technology which is actually available today and we have access to. So today, for a company like JM Bakshi, as a port operator, we're a lot younger, we're a lot newer. The ability to actually be cloud native when it comes to building an entire tech stack, so port operating systems operating on the cloud, your entire intermodal solutions operating on the cloud, your ability to sit and stack the different solutions on the cloud, match it, shove it, move away from mainframe solutions and do that, and then put a layer of cyber security. You'll be surprised what is possible here in India today. Now I heard about automation. I think again India is leading when it comes to 5G, and the ability for India to be on the edge when it comes to automation. And I'm sure people like the Adani Group, DP World are looking at these projects actively in India. Because today, and sir, so should you, because India, when it comes to the 5G networks that we have, the ability to look at sensors along with our cloud-first approach across the entire tech stack with a layer of cybersecurity, and the fact today that in India we have one of the most comprehensive port community systems in the world. You actually have at least from the port front, and I think you're able to then go and build gateways which are digitally so sound, so secure, and more importantly, so robust that I think you will be able to scale up your businesses manifold. And this is what I think today is there for not only me, but any other operator that's present in India, sir. So this is just to set a context in terms of where I think we really are today in India, and probably a little bit ahead of the curve compared to a lot of other nations, simply because we've started a little later, but we are there, sir.
Okay, that gets a lot of applause, whether the claim still has to be based on more evidence. Okay, so what we can do now is we go to Port of Barcelona. I think European ports, of course, they talk about a lot of sustainability, but I would also request if you could also talk some elements on the safety part.
Thanks, Mr. Sethi, Minister, colleagues, good afternoon. As the Port of Barcelona, we consider it a great opportunity to be able to participate in this session and to attend the India Global Maritime Summit. We attend with the aim to knowing firsthand the development of the port system and the potential growth of the Indian economy. And we want to take this opportunity to participate in this session to expose how at the Port of Barcelona are building our future. As economic driver, the Port of Barcelona mission is to generate prosperity and well-being. However, we must achieve it sustainably. We are fully aligned with the European Green Deal to make Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. We must speed up the decarbonization of transport by using renewable energy and energy efficiency. I am satisfied to say that the Port of Barcelona is well placed to drive this revolution. We will roll out a network of photovoltaic panels throughout the port territory to harness the photovoltaic generating potential, which we estimate at around 100 megawatts. We are investing around $200 million until 2030 to install systems for onshore electrical power connections to ship docks at our wharf, eliminating engines emissions while they remain in the port. The first connections in our port will be operational in early 2024. A large part of the switch to green fuels depend on ports. That is why we are performing projects to turn ourselves into a hub for the production and supply of clean fuels such as hydrogen, ethanol, ammonia, and biogas. We will be the starting point of the main hydrogen transporting pipeline in Europe, a project fostered by the European Union to bring clean fuels to the entire continent. The second great challenge of maritime transport and the global port system is the innovation. We must accelerate our digital transformation, developing an evolving smart port model using artificial intelligence, big data, the Internet of the Things, the blockchains to be more efficient and capable of providing continuous services. For 5 years, we have organized the Smart Ports, Piers of the Future, international conference with the collaboration of our ports, of leading ports like Anvers, Busan, Hamburg, Los Angeles, Montreal, and Rotterdam, and Gothenburg. And this year, Smart Ports will be held in Barcelona on 10, 8, and 9 of November. Smart Ports is a global alliance for port innovation in which we invite all the Indian ports to participate. From the Port of Barcelona, we are developing projects to promote the innovation. For instance, we are the first port in the Mediterranean to deploy a high-capacity 5G standalone telecommunications network, a project that we are carrying out in alliance with Orange. We are building an innovation and training hub that includes a specific foundation to create an innovation ecosystem linked to port activity, a Blue Tech Port, a project to attract and promote startups and innovative projects of consolidate companies in all the sectors of the blue economy, and related training centers such as the maritime and logistic sector, European Intermodal School, Logistic Institute, and the Nautical Institute. This is how we imagine the ports of the future, a fundamental infrastructure to the development and progress of the entire country. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now request Mr. Tripathi from Adani Ports and SEZ. Adanis have successfully done the E2E logistics within our own country. I would request him to share that experience, and if there is an additional thing on the digitization part also, you can talk about that as well.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Is this audible enough, please? Honorable Minister, sir, respected Secretary, Convener Sanjay ji, esteemed distinguished panelists, and a full house indeed. I'll begin by first congratulating the Honorable Minister and the Ministry for a very successful management of this event and the first plenary session of Connect, Collaborate and Create. Being aware of the fact that as a part of the maritime community, nearly 90% of the world's trade is routed through oceans. We as citizens of the world have responsibility towards our oceans, a very popular concept called the blue economy. We in India see a trajectory that came with the introduction of the public-private partnership that came about, certain circumstances necessitated it in the last decade of the last century. Today, India stands as a very shining example as a beneficiary of the efforts of the PPP, and the maritime sector is one such very beautiful example. And sitting with distinguished guests over here, who are practitioners of bringing the world to India as far as efficiency and world shipping is concerned. Now, India is no different. 90% by volume and about 70% by value of India's trade puts us a responsibility on the maritime community and on the port practitioners, as it were. We are also the fact that the world is today at an inflection point as far as energy transition is concerned. So we're getting out from traditional methods of energy into newer methods of energy, and I think I'll stick to speaking about what is it about the green energy transition that is happening in the ports, and which by no means a less than a tectonic movement that is happening. Please be aware that the responsibility cast on the maritime community because of the large trade passing through means we have sustainable methods of practicing ports. And clearly the theme has been set that the port of the future, indeed the world of the future, is going to be based on smart, safe and sustainable. This is what we need to bequeath to the coming generation. We at the APSEZ, which is Adani Ports, with all humility say that about a quarter of India's cargo passes through our ports. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for his guidance when we were speaking about Mundra celebrating 25 years. I consider that 25 years of responsible and responsibility towards the country. In Mundra and in all our ports, which are a string of pearls across the Indian coastline, starting from Gujarat right up to the state of West Bengal, where we have won a concession for developing Tajpur, the green imprint is absolutely visible. We're making a transition from traditional energy into RE energy, and as I speak to you, the composite demand in all the ports is nearly 250 megawatts, and by the year 24 of April, we would have transited entirely to green energy from a base which is being set up in one little part of Kutch at Khavda, where we are setting up 1,000 megawatt on behalf of the ports to harness this green energy into our ports. Already, we have spoken about, we're aware that the electrification, and other speakers have also spoken about it. Today, it's a matter of pride that every single equipment that runs on the berth face of all the ports of the APSEZ are run on electric power, and by 24, it will be a green power. But more importantly, is it merely about a green port? I think a port cannot be diversed from a larger ecosystem of the economy. And that is a responsibility towards a biodiversity. So when we go to set up a port, I would give you one example of a port in Dhamra, where we went to set up a port, we're aware that very close to the port is a world's largest rookery of the olive ridley turtles. Now, would this mean that the turtle nesting would die? Would this mean that man and animal would not survive together? Would it mean that economy would be at peril to ecology? No, we are believers that economy and ecology are two sides of the coin and they practice them together. So when we went in, we set up along with IUCN, and sir, to the Honorable Minister, I want to say, in all humility, the Dhamra port of APSEZ is the only port to be tagged with IUCN as a green port, leading to a sustainable future for the olive ridley turtles. And is again with great pride and humility I say that every successive year that the cargo goes in the APSEZ ports, the green imprint gets more and more entrenched. So therefore, if the turtle migration happens, which I call them ambassadors of our ports, and they entrench the fact that we go further. I would also like to say this biodiversity means that you work along with communities and that you're actually being benchmarked by the world. So today, I would urge the Honorable Minister and Secretary PSW to also take up. In Adani Ports, we are welcome to be benchmarked by the best in the world. So we have a ESG rating, and we will all be aware, and I urge that every port in India, if you wish to go to the future, you have to benchmark yourself on an ESG mandate. The mandate of ESG that we benchmark on transport and logistics, again I say with a lot of humility and pride, that in 22, we were ranked as the first in the transport and logistics sector across emerging markets of the world. No mean achievement for an Indian port company. Again, we are among the top 10 of the 300 plus companies in this cohort of transport and transport in the infra sector. So clearly the message is that you need to benchmark to say, it's not merely what we say, it's about also speaking and proving that the world, when it examines you, is aware that you are a responsible port operator, a responsible practitioner of what you are doing. Among the many energy emissions, the free plastic zones that we do, I'll dwell on it when Sanjay ji comes back. I have a quick round of discussion with others. Thank you very much for bearing me out. Thank you.
See, we have a group of very passionate leaders here. Thank you, Mr. Tripathi. I think to carry the debate a little further now, when we're discussing efficiency and we're discussing environment, there is a little bit of an inherent conflict. So, coming to our friends from APM Terminal and Oslo, how do we manage the conflict? So for you, maybe the efficiency is a little more important, and for him, let's say the environment is a little more important. You have to convert it into a little bit of a debate. Okay, so let's hear from both of you. What are the ways of conflict management on a more serious note?
Thank you. And it's a good and relevant question, but I do not accept the conflict. I think as a responsible company, having a long-term perspective, as I shared, we are a company 120 years old. We've been in India for 100 years. You cannot do that if you do not have a sustainable approach to your business. It cannot be only about creating and earning money. It has to be a sustainable way of making your business. So for me to see, there's actually not a conflict. I may actually go the other way around and say, maybe there's an opportunity by combining the two agendas. What we have done in Maersk is that we have taken a leap into faith, or a leap into the future. We have ordered, and 1 month ago we received and named the first methanol-fueled container vessel. And from next year we'll take delivery of even bigger 15,000 TEU container vessels that will, with these vessels we will be able to offer our customers a decarbonized transport product. As a company, we have committed to be zero carbon by 2040. And does it cost money? Yes, it does. The vessels are more expensive. I'm not sure I have all the fuel I need, the green methanol. But as an industry player who is here for the long term and who is committed to serve our customers, the societies, the environment, we have to do this. So for me, it's not a conflict. It's actually an opportunity. So yeah, with those words, I'll pass on to my Norwegian colleague.
I agree with Maersk, and I'm very optimistic when I listen to Maersk. But I'm concerned that the front runners can lose too much money, because I think we'll find the green solutions. But I'm not because today it's all about fuel, it's all about green fuel, I would say. But I'm concerned that it will be too expensive and that the competitors that are using diesel as we use today. So that's my concern. But of course, that's a responsibility for the politicians to build markets, and that the front runners like Maersk will win, because that's my concern today. But I think also it's opportunities, and especially for the ports. They can be energy hubs, and we need a lot of energies there. So it's also a lot of responsibilities for possibilities for it. And IMO, they've set net zero shipping emissions to be zero in 2050. It's only 27 years. So we have to start today. And I think we also have to work together. And I'm also very glad that the Norwegian Port Association and the Indian Port Association tomorrow will sign an agreement to work together. That's really important, and it's very important for Norway as a little country to work with a superpower like India to build the future ports and to find the future solutions.
I'm getting the Secretary, Mr. T.K. Ramchandran, into the debate now. One is, of course, when we say, is a mandate enough for this? I mean, when they're saying IMO has set these targets, so whether we'll achieve it or not. Second is that, I mean, even if we make a statement of saying that there is no conflict, but as was just being discussed, the front runners normally will end up spending more money. So where does this money come from? So where is really the role of the government in all this debate? Where is a mandate enough? Number one. Number two, if this investment has to come from somewhere, is it the government really?
Thank you, Sanjay. So this is an old debate, whether the demand comes first or the supply comes first. But as government, I think it is our duty to ensure that both demand and supply happen, are matched, and that the initial spark is ignited. So that is the role of the government. For instance, when we went to Norway a few months back, and we saw their ecosystem for the production and consumption of ammonia, it was mind-boggling. On the one hand, you have ships being developed which will run on green hydrogen and its derivatives. And on the other, you have a string of ports which are being developed which will be able to supply ammonia. Then, of course, Maersk has gone in for the green methanol vessel. In India, we do not have the luxury of saying that, yes, we will continue with the fuels that we already have, because we just don't have those fuels. And therefore, for us, it is a question of finding an alternative that we can make available to ourselves. Land is available, the sun is free, the wind is free, and and water is free. I mean, the seawater. Therefore, with these elements, we can create energy, create our own source of energy. And therefore, this we think is something that we should just grab. And therefore, green hydrogen is the way that we have said is going to be our way. That is the stated position of MNRE, the government, that we do not believe in multiple colors. We are sort of color blind. For us, green is the color. And therefore, we are interested in producing green hydrogen from whatever resources that we have. And the demand is there. We have been attending, and all of you know about the green hydrogen mission and the targets that have been set. And the target is pretty steep, 5 million. And we do not have the luxury of alternate other fuels. Therefore, we will ensure that green shipping happens, green ports happen, and that like you said, there is a conflict between the economics and the ecology. In our case, there is no conflict. Green and economics are on the same page.
Okay, I can't comment after that. All right. Now let's move to the technology piece. And again we claim that while in the green part there would be a lot of other countries who are ahead of us, but with the 5G, with a lot of other technology innovations, improvements, India is definitely pacing ahead in this sector. However, there is generally a feeling that technology is still suboptimally used in ports, ports as a sector. I mean, not just in India, but outside India as well, whether it is in the US or other parts of the world. My question is to Dhruv that whether it is just a terminal operating system or whether it is all other uses of technology, whether there is still a lot of gap, a lot of deficit there, and what opportunities are there really for investment for the private sector?
Sir, I think if you just take a snapshot of everything right from Tripathi Saab till my friend from APM, business models itself are going through a tremendous change. So, I mean, I will not be surprised that in this room, 10 years from now, sir, we have energy producers. You may have, maybe Mr. Tripathi is going to be a, he might be making battery packs for, EVs that are, trucks. And maybe you should, you'll eventually buy them from the Adani facility in Mundra, maybe in Denmark as well. So, sir, the models, when I say technology, sir, yes, I think digitization is definitely one of them. But I think the technology application is widespread, and the business models that we are looking at today is going to be completely different. Meaning, sir, is that today when we look at, for example, the port industry, transportation of cargo within ports in close proximity to our ports will see a tectonic shift away from carbon intensive transportation means to more green means. Now that opens up a whole new model in terms of charging infrastructure, in terms of manufacture, in terms of the way the vehicles are designed. It's just one piece, sir. That's one tectonic model which will happen. We don't know what's the transporter of the future going to look like. We need to ask ourselves those questions. What's the automobile supplier going to be, sir? We need to ask ourselves that question. Sir, what are we going to do in terms of documentation exchange, which today, sir, all said and done, while we have these platforms, we have digitization, adoption still in our industry is a lot slower. What is that? What is documentation as a model going to be, sir? I think that's another business that's also going to come in. Sir, I think across the board, because of technology, we are going to look at a whole range of business models emerging. And I think we have to be open today saying that if I'm saying I'm a port company, sir, I think I'm limiting myself today if I'm saying I'm a port company. Sir, I could tomorrow, maybe 10 years later, sir, I'll be sitting here and maybe, sir, I'm an EV transportation company. I don't know. So we don't know what direction, sir, these companies could potentially take. I think we are, again, I think as Mr. Tripathi said, it's a tectonic shift when it comes to energy. It's a tectonic shift when it comes to communication. It's a tectonic shift when it comes to the actual transportation itself because of the fuel change. So, sir, we are at a very interesting phase. And again, I repeat, sir, I think we are very well poised as a country. When I just look at the stakeholders here, sir, to take advantage of it.
Okay, that's great. I think before we go forward with the debate here, I'm requesting our Honorable Minister to make a few comments, sir, and enlighten the gathering with your speeches, sir.
T.K. Ramachandranji, the Secretary, Ministry of Port Shipping Waterways, Mr. Sanjay Sethi, Chairman, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority, and Mr. Luis Salvedo Tenisha, Mr. Eugene D. Siroka, Mr. Link Armont, Mr. Dhruv Katak, Mr. Rijwan Shomar, Mr. Subrat Tripathi, and ladies and gentlemen. This session became very interesting. I was just listening to everybody's, own observation, own assessment, and own outlook, because how they want this green shipping to grow. So I believe in this particular, as we have given the theme, connect, collaborate, and create. So through this global event, we are connecting the world, maritime nation, and collaborate. We have decided to collaborate each other, work together, creating a holistic working relationship among the maritime nation. Then create what we are going to create for the future course of action, for the future generation. If we are committed to preserve sustainable human life on the planet Earth, we are to put our effort for climate action, adequate climate action. So we are all committed for this because we are to protect the human society on the planet Earth. We want to grow economically, but not at the cost of ecology and environment. So this is essential because planet Earth, whatever environment we have received as a gift of God, needs to be preserved and promoted for the smooth and comfortable living of all the creation living on the planet Earth. It is not only human life, plant life, animal life, all the creation. And water, hills, mountain, sea, ocean, and environment. I firmly believe water is the wisdom, water is the weather, water is the wealth, water is the world. That's the power water can provide for all of us. Realizing that available resources in the waterways, we have all been assembling together to find out the future, better plan and action, so that we could also earn and we could also live a life of happiness. So I believe to achieve that noble goal, we have all been time to time discussing how to take adequate climate action to combat the climate change, to maintain the global warming. So I believe this particular commitment is always there. And today we have on this dais all the very, very successful players in the maritime industry, all the successful players. I really extend my thankfulness to all of you because you have contributed a lot in the growth of maritime industry, maritime trade. So I believe this particular fraternity will have to think how, by applying the most modern advanced technology, we could create an environment for blue economy. So, from our ministry, as T.K. Ramachandranji rightly narrated, how we are taking a lot of initiative to create green port, green shipping, and green environment, isn't it? So, as per the vision and mission set by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, National Hydrogen Mission, as a follow-up, we have all been taking adequate initiative so far. But the question for the growth of this particular maritime industry, it is you have to play a very, very important role, pivotal role. So I believe with your associated collaborative effort, I believe those things can be done very smoothly because we have to create a lot of latest generation of ship. Now, the design and structure of the green ship this is also a matter of concern for all of us. For sustainability, today I am thankful to Mr. Nair from our Cochin Shipyard Limited. He is also putting a lot of effort to create an ecosystem within his institution, that how with quality human resource, with quality engineering, quality architecture, quality kind of, putting their efforts, how we can take up the challenges of the modern days demanding situation of ship. It's a different kind of structure, different kind of, model. So I believe as per the present market demand, we'll have to develop different kind of ability so that this kind of technological incorporation can also give us the proper ecosystem to meet the expectation of the modern generation. And we are also very much interested to develop the latest generation of ship, that is icebreaker ship. We are interested. We are also want to have technology so that this can be incorporated in our shipbuilding process. And that's the way I believe that whatever generation of ship we have, we need to think about how the polar water, Arctic water can also be taken into this consideration. Today, as we are the organizer, with your support, I'm really thankful to all the participants across the world because of your coming to Mumbai, a historic maritime city, beautiful city. It has got a long history of 150 years of maritime industry. So I believe with this particular heritage and historic background, we are also lending in the 21st century. We are also aiming to become the leader of the global aspect. Of course, in many parameters, we have the leaders here. But India, under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, it's clear that we are not looking back. We are marching forwards with speed and scale. These are the two key words, speed and scale. That's the value of our contribution. That's the value of our thinking. That would be the value of our creation in this sector. I do not want to take much time because you are all very, very efficient, very, very eligible kind of player in this sector, and you could also, through your important observation, could contribute to make this particular event a grand success. And I do hope in the next 3 days, you will be continuously present and also contribute. And these particular 3 keywords, connect, collaborate, and create, we'll have to create for the future generation. Because today, this particular message will be percolated to the ground. And boys and girls in the schools and colleges and universities, they will be expecting more and more from us. What new things is going to happen? So I believe this new thinking, I believe this is the creation, and that creation will have to be made possible through our collaborative effort. We want to develop a win-win situation for all of us. So this family, I want to live with peace and tranquility in the planet Earth, because this is the expectation, hopes of everyone. And this is what our Honorable Prime Minister is always inspiring us to do. So that is why Vasudeva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. Why? And why International Day of Yoga? You have seen yoga for humanity, connecting the world community. Humanity, community, this is the connectivity. We need to enhance, we need to strengthen. And this is the power of human society in the globe. Thank you. Jai Hind.
We'll carry on with the session, yeah. Just, we'll leave you in 10 minutes. The 3:30 session, so that's at 3:30. Yeah, the CEO session is at 3:30, so once we leave here, we can go to that session. Okay, just picking up from the word connect, we've been discussing all kinds of technology, but connecting ports across the world still remains a sort of a dream, because we probably need to work maybe a lot more on technologies that bring us closer in a real sense of the term. What would be, Rizwan, coming to you, and then to our friend from Barcelona, what would be your recommendations to really make headway in this field?
Can you hear me?
Your mic which doesn't work.
No, I think, Mr. Sethi, we need to create this digital ecosystem. It's not just important that we create an end-to-end supply chain without actually ensuring that there's an underlying process that is digitized, so that the outcome that we actually promise to a client and to a customer essentially is delivered. The supply of goods is equally important as supply of information, right? And sometimes the information has to come before the supply of goods, and sometimes it has to come as a reactionary in that sense. So I think creating digital ecosystems is as equally important as creating end-to-end supply chains and physical movement of goods. As an example, the port community system that Mr. Kotak talked about, this is obviously a port community system that brings all the stakeholders in a particular ecosystem together. So it's a trucker, it's a shipper, a consignee, it's customs, it's port authority, it's a shipping line. Everybody actually comes on a menu-driven system, right? Where everybody's part is actually played as part of the process that is actually digitized, the underlying process that is actually digitized. So for example, I cannot actually get access to information unless the protocol actually allows me to, right? So the security of data is actually maintained. We've done several use cases together with the government of India to actually ensure that these test cases are actually made on real life problems, so that it can be scaled up to actually benefit the community at large, essentially. And this is not just important in a local ecosystem like India, for example, but it's also important that India is actually then well connected to other parts of the world. So the same digital ecosystem has to then work from an end-to-end perspective, covering various locales geographically, as the customers actually want that. And this is particularly important because of all the new trends that are actually coming up, like nearshoring, for example, like resilience in supply chain, like flexibility. So for example, it could be that a certain market is actually closed at very short notice, and the seller has to actually find a new buyer. And I think the challenge that is actually ahead of logistics companies like us is to ensure that the supply chain is quickly react, we are able to react very, very quickly to that problem and actually ensure that the new supply chain is then delivered as per the expectation of the client. So it's critically important that physical movement of goods is coupled with the flow of information as real time as possible.
In this field, I can explain our experience and one example. We are working into fields. One on the other hand, in the hardware fields, and the other hand in the software field. Hardware, for example, we are developing, as I said before, efficient network 5G in collaboration with the enterprise Orange. And on the other hand, we are working for more or less 10, 15 years ago with a quality brand, efficiency network label, which has allowed us to increase the agility and efficiency of our processes, and not only our processes in our port, but in other countries with which the plan has been successfully exported this experience. The quality level used by over 100 companies only in our in our port and in our hinterland, includes significant compensations for the end customers if the companies under the brand fail to meet the established quality levels.
Okay, I think just to manage the time right, probably one question each, but before that, Mr. Tripathi, I mean, if you were to make one or two recommendations to the government, I mean, we are creating, let's say, a blueprint for how do we do this accelerated shift to smart, sustainable, more efficient ports in India. So as a practitioner, what would be those one or two recommendations that you would like to make to the government?
Thank you, Sanjay ji, due to a sense of time. But first of all, two quick comments. Ecology and economy do not conflict, they complement. It's a journey of belief, it's a journey of faith, and one that has to be undertaken because we are at the inflection point of a very critical part of the world history. Comment one. Comment two, I knew that Dhruv bhai and I, we share a very long relationship, but I didn't know he had a peek into what I was doing into the future in ports and that we will actually be producing EV. Coming back to you, Sanjay ji, quick one. One is that, take a cue from what we've done. We promised ourselves and to the maritime community, 2025 we shall be carbon neutral, 2040 we shall be net zero. This is much ahead. This is something that every port in India must take up, a carbon neutral ideal and a carbon neutral mission, as well as a net zero mission, number one. Number two, the journey is also about electrification, which we spoke. I'll just give you a quick example. Across all our ports, and especially the container terminals, before we arrive at the bulk handling equipments, we have gone on eITVs entirely. At Mundra, as I speak to you, the bulk of transportation intra-port is happening entirely on electric ITVs, and these electric ITVs are being charged, as my friend says, through a green power being produced over there. That's a journey that we all have to take. So that is the second part of it. The third part, yes, it's a little commercial conflict. And I have stakeholders over here, partners such as Tata Steel, Shantanu ji, you are here. When we had to do this, we had to give a concession that some of our partners like Tata Steel came up. Would you be able to permit vessels coming with green fuel such as LNG and give a concession? Now here was a very critical commercial question. And I think, Rizwan ji, you'll also bear me out. At the end of the day, when the PNL doesn't look too good, you must take a very hard call at it. We decided that the responsibility of running a green maritime ecosystem is not on the individual shoulders of a single stakeholder. It's collectively and jointly shared. And it's my pleasure to tell you that we have taken the joint responsibility by a concession for such vessels calling on us with green fuels to give a concession in the vessel tariff. This is promotional. How we shall go forward, we will have to see, but indeed this is promotional and we have begun. The other part of it, which when I spoke of a biodiversity, engage the communities on a large scale, such as when we take up a green footprint, besides what is the mandate of the Ministry of Environment, about 25% of your green cover, we've gone beyond into the communities to say, such as a declaration made that 100 million trees by 2030, of which a good about close to 4 million would just come in our ports. Now that's a tall task. And as I speak to you, it's a very tall task, but I think this is something that all ports should nearly take up. Finally, I always believe that the PPP, which has resulted in so much of progress in India particularly, is not merely public-private participation. To me and to us, to all of us, it's a belief. It's people, it's planet, it's prosperity together. Thank you so much.
Okay, now two quick questions for you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's say if the private participation, let's say the private ports today have a 50% footprint in the country today.
Right.
So 10 years from now?
Thank you for that. The CAGR of the All India port growth is at a 6%. The CAGR of the the cargo which is not accounted in the government books is at a 16%. The CAGR with the Adani ports is about a 17%. We are at about 47% to be very precise at the end of 23 financial year. 10 years from now, you have shown the way. It's going to be landlord. It doesn't matter in which account we take the cargo. The fact is that we'll have a unique partnership with a government landlord model.
He needs to join politics, right?
If you do propose, sir, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay. On the same question, Rizwan. When I said private means private, yeah?
Yeah. So I think this partnership, as we can see, is working extremely effectively in that sense, right? So I think it's more about leaving the business of running ports and logistics to private parties, and then actually being the coordinator to make sure that everybody is actually treated as fairly as possible in the ecosystem is something that the government actually must come in with policies and regulations, as the case might be, right? So I think it's working extremely well in your port, Mr. Sethi, where we've actually managed to build a free zone. We've actually completely privatized all the terminals in that sense.
It was more like cargo going away from major ports or something. So what is your forecast, Dhruv?
Sir, I think with the onset of the MPA, and in fact exactly what Rizwan is saying, with more and more activities, and that trend has to continue, sir. So let me close it. I think, sir, that way the pressure is on Mr. Ramchandran and yourself and Honorable Minister. Sir, if we actually follow the MPA to the T, which means ports today move out of any form of operating and take their landlord role seriously, sir, then we have a chance of catching up with the CAGR that Subrat sir is setting. Yeah. But I think, sir, it's important that we follow it to the T, which means, sir, as much as possible, sir, should be privatized out for operating across the board. Then, sir, we have a chance. Otherwise, sir, I'm sorry, I think Subrat sir will be way ahead, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to say that we all believe in free economy, free markets, absolutely. But we don't like it very much when the private guys become very pally. Though you might like to sit next to each other in conferences like this. So free markets, yes, but absolutely regulated. It has to be regulated.
Okay, I think we should give some time to the audience to ask a few questions. Yes, the fastest finger first. Yeah, the lady there. Then I have one there. Maybe just 3 or 4 questions because we have a time constraint.
Sir, I have a question for Dhruv sir. As Dhruv sir spoke about IPA, that IPA is a government subsidiary. So how does this government subsidiary impacted on the subsidy?
How is it impacted on the
subsidy? Subsidiary?
No,
subsidy.
Sorry, I'll just clarify that. IPA is Indian Ports Association. It's a body which is formed by all the major ports collectively to perform functions in the interest of all the ports and frankly the entire maritime piece. So I don't see any subsidy angle on that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of a misunderstanding, I think. It's okay. I think we'll take that question there. Yes, please. Quickly there. Was there any other hand?
I am Devdutt from Tata Consulting Engineers. I head the maritime business. My question is to Mr. Ramachandran Saab. Sir, the concession agreement, what we have between the ports and the concessionaire, does not till now clarify on the green component, green energy transition or the green components, what you need to put. So when can we expect that change, number one? With due regards to Rizwan, Subrat and they are doing on their own. That is my first question. Second question is to Mr. Sethi, that we are making Wadhwan and big ports. There also when we do the DPR, the green component is totally missing. So how do we induct in the design stage itself the green component? Thank you, sir.
We have this green port guidelines, the Harit Sagar guidelines, which we released a few months back. Those are for the major ports. But we are also thinking of extending that to the minor ports. And like Mr. Tripathi said, see, ultimately it's a question of self-regulation and everyone believing that it should happen. So I think we will nudge. We might not regulate at the moment, but we will nudge everyone towards green. And I think over a period of time it will happen simply because the economics will demand it. Because it will simply be that you can't but be green, just as we have to be now using EVs after some time, simply because it's the way to go.
Okay, there was a hand there. Yes, please.
Hi, good evening. I am representing Tata Steel. I have a very small question. We are looking at a greener pasture of maritime world. Now, there are two things we are discussing. One is green fuel, and one more aspect we have not considered, that is shore power supply to the vessel, right? We have moved as a Tata Steel, we wanted to become a pioneer in doing that in Indian coast, other than the Trichy. But somewhere I think we need the lack of light, lack of spirit from the government also. Yeah.
I just want to ask about shore power. I think what Norway has done is we have a regulator authority called Enova, and they have used $85 million for the last years, and that is in 100 projects, ports around Norway, and that is building shore power. The system is not finished in many places. I think it's 7 or 8 harbors, ports in Norway that have it today. Cruise ships can use them. So the emissions go down, and it's a start of that ports can be an energy hub. So, but we have started the work. I think that, of course, in Europe today there is an energy crisis because of the war in Ukraine. But we see that kind of solution, that's the future, and we have to build them. But of course, you can't let the market fix it alone. You need support to start it.
All right, maybe one last question, because I'll give half a minute to all our speakers to have the closing remarks. All right, maybe we start from there. Any last moment closing remarks, please? Yes. All of you, just about a few seconds each, yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it has been a very interesting session. A lot has been said. I think an important takeaway for me is that we all buy into green growth and energy transition. And we see this as an opportunity. And this is actually not my words. This is a vision of your great PM Modi. And I think we should all take that away. Thank you.
Sir, I mean, not a repetition, but I think India, presents a phenomenal opportunity for, companies and, people from all over the world. It's a phenomenally growing market, but also I think the foundation and the base, whether it's the regulatory environment, which we spoke about, sir, or whether it's the opportunity set, keeping in mind, digitization, keeping in mind energy transition, and just the sheer scale of market. I think the types of opportunities that you will get in India will be unique compared to anywhere in the world, because you will be able to test at scale a number of new technologies, a number of new opportunities.
Thank you. I just want to say that green ports and green shipping has enormous potential, and it's our job to realize it as soon as possible. And of course, this transformation, we need education, we need skills, we need training, and we need to work together.
Oh, maybe you can have the last word.
Thanks. The maritime transport move the world. It is the backbone of the global supply chains, moving more than the 80% of the world trade. The world is facing in this moment is facing a climate emergency, long drought, an extreme heat in Europe, but not only in Europe, here in the Asian continent. And in this moment, usually high temperatures and torrential rains in India, in Europe, in all the world are generating big challenges, big global challenges. And I think that the global sector in the maritime sector in global terms. We need develop, we need work very hard to change our sector to the decarbonization of our activity and leading the change in the industrial sector.
So I think we talked a lot about sustainable ports. We talked about a lot of green ports in that sense, but I think sustainability runs across the entire supply chain, towards the client in that sense, right? So how do we actually make the supply chains more sustainable? And one of the things that we're actually doing is to actually calculate how much is the carbon footprint across the supply chain needs of the clients end to end in that sense, right? So for example, this gives rise to multimodalism, right? To make sure that more sustainable forms of transport are actually chosen by the client as compared to other sustainable modes of transport, right? For example, we can actually show the degree of sustainability towards the client and make sure that the client actually is able to choose his or her form of transport in that sense, and then we actually make it happen per se. So I think that's also one of the things that is actually getting a lot of prominence. Awareness will lead to action. Action will lead to more sustainable processes towards actually making sure that this particular solution is productized and scaled up to make an impact on the global footprint.
Thank you. I would end by saying what I said at the beginning. Embrace and invoke smart, digital, and green methods into working. Make them a part of your business processes. Make them a part of your business P&L. Have the courage to step out with your conviction, to put your head on the block. Get yourself rated, as Rizwanji says, when we calculate the actual indicator of carbon. Every agency today, for example in APSEZ, the share prices that we have are rated by agencies as to what green footprint we have. So the crux and the onus on actually proving the talk is very hard. But if you wish to do that, it's a journey of conviction and belief. I would do that. Embrace, invoke, get into that. So that's what I would say. Get into a rating agency, certainly. Thank you so much, Sanjay.
Last word for our Secretary, sir, Mr. T.K. Ramachandran.
So anyway, I thank all the participants. I think they gave us a lot of suggestions. The topic was, of course, smart, safe, and sustainable. So I think we got carried away a bit on the green part, but I think there was also a lot of smart. There were also a lot of smart people, obviously. So the session was very smart. So I would just like to talk of 4 or 5 things that. This was something that we came up with when we talked about speeds at Tuticorin. It was a smart port employment and economic development zone. So that was called speeds. So then we were looking at S, what all S could stand for. So that was safe, smart, speedy, secure, and sustainable. Sometimes we like to do these S kind of tricks. So in this we have talked about safe, smart, and sustainable. So we didn't talk about secure and speedy, but that's also there somewhere in the within the mandate of this group. So technology has to be used if we want to do our business well and efficiently or speedily. So I always talk about EODP. Just as you talk of EODP, you should also talk of speed of doing business, and CODP, which is the cost of doing business. So all these 3 things. And then of course green, and then secure, because secure is not just environmentally secure, it's also about other kinds of security, which someone in the DGS will tell us, or the people from the IMO will tell us a lot of things about security. And of course the smart ports. So technology is the basis for everything, and money is going to come through PPPs, right? There is no escape from that. So ports have to become smart. They have to learn to live with the private sector, to live with PPPs, and that is perhaps the way ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we must close this session now. Let's have a huge round of applause for the stellar performance of all the speakers here. Let's go for a quick photograph here. Yeah. Mementos. Okay, mementos first. Thank you very much. I think the next session I think the safety part was covered by him a little. Just to Sorry? I think the MOUs will happen with the minister. That's what he said. Yeah, that's what.